Tiffany.
Hi, Kat.
Hello. This is
Hello.
fun because you can hear my roommate in the background, and I'm going to start this episode off with a story about my roommate.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
Okay. He's
So
still
he,
here. We're recording this on the same
yeah.
night as last week, so.
So he's eight, nine. Wait, how much? No, he's much younger than me. We'll say that.
Okay.
Maybe 15 years younger than me. And a couple years ago, after COVID, I traveled internationally and found out that instead of at the time you had to get a COVID test to fly back into the United States before you came back. But because I had COVID and recovered from it, if I got a doctor's note that said they could say that I had been treated, I had COVID and had the antibodies, whatever, you didn't have to take that test. And so I was telling him about that. I said, hey, if you, because he had just had COVID too, I say, if you want to travel internationally, make sure that you get a doctor's note. And what he said next just floored me. He said, oh, I never intend to travel internationally. And I literally had to sit down because, like in my like everyone wants to travel internationally. He studies Chinese. He watches Japanese shows. Like you would think he'd be a prime candidate for traveling internationally, but
he studies Chinese and he doesn't want to go to China.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
So, I kind of he's never said this out loud to me, but I kind of put two and two together, and he's really eco-friendly, like very committed. He walks the walk. He does not own a car. He never drives. He never intends to drive. He rides his bike. He has an electric bike to go longer distances. He eats a mostly vegetarian and vegan diet. So I assume not traveling internationally is kind of on his list of things that he's not going to do because he's committed to living a green lifestyle. Yeah.
To be honest, I did not think you were going to go there. So
yeah.
When you said I thought it was something else. So eco-friendly, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember you've talked about him a lot.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great roommate. Thanks, Michael. I don't think he listens to this podcast, which is probably for the best. But so private airline travel especially airline travel in general gets a lot of flack. I think people are like, oh, jet planes are so bad, especially private airlines. We hear endless stories about supposedly green-centered people, like, say, Al Gore taking a private jet to environmental summit meetings, It's the most hypocritical thing you can do.
Wait, is that really true? Okay.
Yeah, he has in the past. I feel like he has. Yeah. Kim Kardashian posts on her Instagram about how she wanted some food in New York and she took a private jet there and ate the dinner and then flew home. Taylor Swift uses her private jet like a taxi. She has two. Sometimes she lets her boyfriend use one. Elon Musk gets a lot of flack for it. They use their private jets like their cabs. And we're kind of told, flying in general is just really bad for the environment, right? That's kind of a thing we're told. So just how bad is air travel for the environment? And what are people doing to address these problems? Welcome to Greening Up My Act.
Intriguing.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting episode because it's okay. Up front, I'm just going to tell you, I got a lot of my info from my twin sister, who is an aerospace engineer. We've quoted from her quite a bit. Yeah, so
nice.
there's a lot of that you're going to get tonight, and it's kind of all over the place because this is less about like how it's less about a product or service and just kind of talking in general about air travel. So I'll start with that, but I guess I should ask, who are we?
Who the hell are we?
Who the hell are we?
Yeah. So we are two marketing writers and also people.
Ta-da! Surprise!
Yeah,
We're people.
there we go.
Not spectral, whatever.
Apparitions.
Apparition. I couldn't think of the word. Shoot. Yeah.
I listen to enough ghost podcasts to know.
Yeah.
So we originally started this podcast thinking like, okay, we'll use our marketing goggles that we've polished for the last,
Scrubbed.
10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Scrubbed clean. Anyway. Yeah, so because we know what companies, we are the people who write the shit for companies. So we know kind of like what they're saying and how they word things and
Oh,
how
yeah.
they skirt around
Right. Don't
saying what they
say,
really mean
yep.
or, yeah. So we don't like to write a lot of shit, by the way. We just have been
No,
there,
we like to
done
tell
that.
the truth.
We're forced sometimes. Anyway,
In the past, I would say. None of my
yeah.
current clients are
No, no.
the
Have been forced.
exaggerators. Yes, I
Yes.
have definitely
Yeah.
written marketing content that was like, that's not really a thing. But okay.
You're forcing me to. Yeah, so it's like a lot of companies think that if they use these buzzwords and these eco-friendly claims and also packaging that people are just going to roll over and be like, "Oh, this is really good for the earth."
Yeah.
And buy all their stuff. And
Which they
a
do.
lot of times that
It
does
works.
happen because it's just like nobody knows. It's
Yeah.
so complicated. It's
And
like who
there's not rules about it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this guy on Instagram who repackages. He's like I think he's a designer, but he does Photoshop and he like repackages really shitty stuff like Twinkies or something and turns them into
Oh, yes.
healthy
I've seen that
snacks.
stuff. Yes. Yeah.
It's so good and it's just so eye-opening to like, okay, you can call this Twinkie. It's like a natural I don't even know. He's too good at this, but like a natural fluff cake or something. I don't know. Anyway,
Energy packet.
yes,
Because it's just
yes,
sugar, right?
yes,
And like glucose is,
yes,
yeah. Mhm.
exactly. No parabens or I don't know, gluten free.
No PFAs.
So
Yeah. Gluten free. Yeah. Dairy free.
So well, it probably is actually. It's got to be anyway.
It's just
So
sugar.
yeah, so we started this podcast like that, and then we're also realizing that like individual actions I think can have a huge impact, but we have to think bigger
Yeah.
than just the shit we bring into our house.
Yeah,
Like
just
the products we buy.
More than what we shop. We have to be knowledgeable about it. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, it's disheartening to like research a bunch of stuff and be like, does this fucking matter if I buy tinfoil or if I
Yeah.
buy beeswax covers?
Right. Does that make any difference whatsoever? Yeah.
Yes. It's like, in the end, probably not that much.
Mm-mm.
And a lot of people say, okay, if everybody does it, blah, blah, blah. Well, first off,
Right.
everyone's not going to do it. But second off, it's too late for that in a lot of ways. It's just too late. Like, climate change is here. So, yeah, so we're kind of like next season, we're going to be talking about, we're kind of talking about like, we're trying to focus on like bigger picture stuff. So,
Yeah.
like, next season, we're talking about advocacy, and I'm pretty excited about that. This season, we're talking about transportation. So,
Yeah.
that was a very long-winded answer
that's
to
great.
like, who the hell we are.
I love it though. I think it laid it out. And so
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
it's just
So,
a lot
yeah.
of thoughts that rumble through my head.
I mean, that's good.
They
You're a
slosh
smart
around
person.
in there, you know. And I'm sure I'm not alone in these
No.
thoughts. So
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. And I'm excited. Well, this week's going to be interesting. We'll see. But let's talk about sources.
okay, you said you have 12. So
Yeah, well, so, okay, my number one source this week was my twin sister. As I said, she's an aerospace engineer. So she works in this field. This is literally what she does for a living in Cleveland, Ohio. So,
Cleveland, our new favorite place.
we're plugging Cleveland. If you're listening, Mayor of Cleveland, please throw us some funding. I don't know.
Yeah.
She sent me a bunch of this stuff, and I'm just going to use all of it because she gave me a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm just going to use it and say I use it because I'm sure it informed this. So I had something from Our World in Data. This is something I've used before, sector by sector. Where do global greenhouse emissions come from? The Commons, How to Fly Sustainably, the Aviation Sustainability Center, a press release from NASA. The FAA has some information about fueling aviation sustainable transitions grants. An app that you sent me called App in the Air.
Yes.
The Department of Energy Alternative Fuels Data Center, and a company called Built In that explains what are electric planes.
Oh. Okay.
So, yeah. All right, let's just dive into the meat and potatoes here.
Electric plane. I don't know why that's.
Ye-
I've
Yeah.
never even.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a reason you've never considered it. So
Okay.
we'll
All
get
right.
into that. We're talking about air travel. So specifically passenger travel, right?
Okay.
I'm not talking about the Air Force. I'm not talking about shipping or freight. I'm not even talking about private jets. I'm talking about passenger. Well, maybe private jets are lumped in there,
Yeah.
but passenger travel. So when
Okay.
you get on a plane to go somewhere. According to the handy graphic that my sister sent me about U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, and this is from 2019, 11% of emissions globally are created by aviation, all aviation. Of that 11%, 81% is from passenger travel. So
Wow.
the majority of it.
Wow.
And of that 81%, it's a 60-40 split between international and domestic travel.
Oh. So 60 international.
60 international, 40 domestic.
Well, that's not that far. That's not that different.
It's not
actually.
that big a difference, but it is something. That's why, people who are green livers are like, I will avoid
I ain't going to
international
China.
air travel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Commons, one of the people I quoted from, they point out that 1% of people on the planet generate the most greenhouse gases from flying. So those are the people with the private jets, those 1% of people.
How much?
1% of them generate the most greenhouse gases. They
The
didn't say
most.
how much that was.
Okay.
And in fact, 90% of people in the world will never step foot on an airplane. So there's 10% of us doing this 11% of greenhouse gas
What?
emissions through for travel.
Holy shit! I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, most people never fly.
Did you say 95% of people?
90%. 9 out of 10
90%.
people will never fly in a plane.
Holy shit!
Yeah. And
That's
it's so normal for
insane.
us. Yeah.
It's so
It's
normal.
my bourgeois lifestyle, like I didn't even I'm like, yeah,
God
that
damn.
actually makes a lot of sense. A lot of people
Yeah.
never leave. I mean, I'm not even talking about like poverty-stricken people, but most of the world, why would they need to fly?
Yeah. I mean, I actually have high school friends who have never flown on a
Yeah.
plane.
I mean, there are, I know people who've never been on a plane. So,
Damn. That's
Yeah.
wild. Okay.
Yeah. so again, I'm going to reiterate that this episode is going to be a bit different from our normal takes because I'm just talking about what air travel is currently like in terms of greenhouse gas emissions and then what commercial airlines and the U.S. government are doing to address those.
Okay.
So it's not, there's going to be a little bit about like, what can you do? But it's not going to be like, what eco-friendly claims do they make? It's like, what damage do they do? So I just went through what damage do they do. Okay. So we can try to talk about what eco-friendly claims planes make. This is not exactly what that is. It's more about what the aviation industry and mainly the U.S. government is doing to try and lower greenhouse gas emissions.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So let's lean into the stuff from my twin sister. The U.S. government is working through various channels to reduce greenhouse gases in aviation. They have 3 goals for aviation. 1, reduce aviation emissions by 20% by 2030 when compared to business as usual scenarios. So from what we're doing now, they want to reduce it by 20%, which doesn't sound
Okay.
like a lot, but they want to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions from U.S. aviation by 2050. So they're giving themselves 20 more years beyond 20% reduction to completely get to net zero. The other thing they're trying to do is catalyze the production of at least 3 billion gallons of sustainable aviation fuel, otherwise known as SAF, per year 2030. So that's, 3 billion gallons of SAF per year by 2030 and 35 billion gallons by 2050, which would be enough to supply the entire sector.
Sustainable aviation fuel. Never heard of it.
We're going to go into that. Yes. So there's also talk about it's
Feels like
not
clean diesel, but anyway.
well, kind of. It's biofuel basically.
Okay.
So as with other modes of transportation like cars and freight, there's a lot of talk about electrification. So instead of jet fuel, these models use, as with anything else, rechargeable lithium ion batteries, which are zero carbon. So on a single charge, they can manage trips under 1,000 miles. Okay. Electric planes would reduce carbon emissions, obviously, but also noise pollution. Same with an electric vehicle. They don't make noise. So noise pollution is a big issue with planes. It's actually one of the things my sister works on is making planes more aerodynamic so that they don't make as much noise.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? You can spend your whole damn career
Yeah.
on that. It's
My
amazing.
brother-in-law was talking about a conference he was going to where one of the presentations was on the noise that pickleball makes.
What?
The pickleball is very loud. I don't know if you've ever walked past a pickleball court, but people in neighborhoods hate it because it's like,
No way.
yeah.
That's
So I think he's like, I could have
so
gone to that.
funny.
It doesn't really apply to my work, but I was trying to get the kids into pickleball a couple of years ago. So he was like,
So funny. Oh my gosh. Okay. Because I know somebody who's an aerospace engineer, and they have so far spent their whole career looking at trying to solve for brownout, which is where helicopters, when they land in a desert environment, they have a few minutes of lack of visibility, and that can cause a crash.
oh,
So that's their whole career, is trying to solve
so
that.
fascinating.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's amazing. Like engineering has very specific problems that they have to solve. You know, I love it.
And you always wonder, like, how are you still passionate after so long of working on the same thing? But they are. At least he is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's electric. That's the eco claims of electrified planes. I'm gonna go into first what all these options are, and then I'll talk about whether they're really sustainable or not. Basically.
Okay.
So let's talk about SAF, plant-based fuels, basically.
Okay.
Also hydrogen fuels, anything that's sustainable, basically. And again, like they're saying, the biggest problem is getting enough of it to power the planes that we already have. So the FAA came up with the Fueling Aviation Sustainable Transition, or FAST, grants to develop SAFs and low-emission aviation technologies.
Okay.
They, on their website that my sister sent me, the grant applications closed in December 2023, and they're currently being evaluated. But basically the idea behind SAF is using plant-based fuels or hydrogen rather than dinosaur-based fuels.
Okay.
My sister said there are drop-in SAFs that you can use directly in place of Jet A, which is the kind of fuel that we use now. So,
Okay.
it's kind of like when we were talking about biodiesel or diesel fuels, we talked about people who can power their cars by using used frying oil.
Yes.
Similar idea.
Yeah.
So straight from, was this the FAA website, I think? But SAF can be produced from non-petroleum based renewable feedstocks, including food and yard waste from municipal solid waste. So they could take basically our compost.
Interesting.
Woody biomass, which would be wood pulp, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Fats, greases, or oils.
Okay.
And other feedstocks like corn or switchgrass, I think is a big one too. The only problem is SAF production is in its early stages. There are 3 known commercial producers. World Energy, which started in 2016 in California. They supply fuel to Los Angeles International Airport and additional California airports. Neste, not to be confused with Nestle, is an international producer that supplies SAF to San Francisco International Airport and expanded to other California airports. I can't talk tonight. Airports. Yeah. Aspen, Pitkin County, and Telluride in Colorado. And then Montana. Okay. Take a deep breath, Kat. Montana Renewables LLC began production in partnership with Shell at an existing petroleum production plant in 2023, and they supply fuel to several partner airlines.
Okay, so is this like, you might have just said this, but it's like ethanol where you can mix it with regular gas?
No, it would completely replace gas.
So can
it's
you
like
use
biofuel.
the same engine?
You could use the same engine, yes.
Oh, interesting.
That's what my sister was saying. Some of them. I don't know which ones of these you can.
Okay.
So some of them you can drop in, right? You just directly use in place of Jet A. Not mixing with Jet A, which is the jet fuel. The name of the jet fuel is Jet A.
Yeah.
You would just replace Jet A. So that's the goal.
So
you don't have to
That's the goal, but they're already supplying it currently, so it's like in use?
Yes. The problem is creating enough, right?
Okay.
That's the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about that with biodiesel.
Yeah. This article kept going. Additional new domestic plants are expected. They don't have details, I guess.
Okay.
A lot of airlines have already signed agreements with existing and future SAF producers to use all their expected output. So this mission is in place. They are working on it. We don't hear about it, but they're working on it. The EPA collects renewable fuel data as part of their renewable fuel standard, and they have an approximate consumption for novel biofuels like SAF. They showed that approximately 5 million gallons of SAF were used in 2021,
Huh.
15.84 million gallons in 2022, so more than three times as much, and 24.5 million gallons in 2023.
Whoa.
So, we tripled it in 2022, but only about 50% more in 2023.
Yeah.
So it's up there. It's starting to get used more.
Especially tripling between those years when air
Yeah.
travel was so much lower.
I think that was the thing. Air travel came back. Yeah, air travel
Yeah.
came back in 2022 mostly. So
Yep,
that's why
yep.
they needed more of
Yeah.
it. According to the International Civil Aviation Organization, over 360,000 commercial flights have used SAF at 46 different airports, largely concentrated in the US and Europe.
Okay.
So
Wow.
46 different airports, 360,000 commercial flights. You probably
I
never
literally
knew.
didn't
You may have
know
been
that
on a
was
plane.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So SAF, the other thing is hydrogen, which I didn't research as much as possible, but
Yeah.
I think now is a good time to take a break because next I'm going to talk about some of the challenges that each of these solutions poses.
Okay. Perfect.
All right, welcome back.
We need to mute our mics while
I
we take a break.
know. I'm always like typing the timestamps down. Sorry, everyone. I need
Oh
to
no,
my
that's
room
smart.
to-
We need to do that too. But,
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, you
That's
get
so funny. It
you
doesn't
get some
matter.
background noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some of the challenges that each of these solutions poses to passenger travel on airlines. Okay, number one, electric planes. They're kind of hard to hope for because planes are heavy, they need a lot of power, there are heat and payload that affect battery life, and planes need a pretty long range. They're not like cars.
Okay. Right.
So currently, the record for distance traveled was 5,000 miles nonstop from China to Hawaii on a solar plane in 2015. Excuse me. These electric planes do show promise in handling crosswinds and weather patterns compared to jet fuel powered planes. They're more adept at. I didn't really get deep into that, but
Yeah.
it's simple. I mean, so the benefits of electric planes are kind of the same as electric vehicles. No emissions. They're faster. They're more efficient, and they handle better. So,
Okay.
but a battery for an electric plane is 40 times heavier than the jet fuel needed to fuel it.
Whoa.
Planes need to be light in order for it to make any sense.
Wow.
So, the most successful electric plane flight to date, the batteries added 8,000 pounds in weight. Like, could you imagine? Like, absolutely no check bags, and we're going to weigh your shoes before you get on this plane. So, you know. Okay. Yeah. So that's
insane.
yeah.
8,000 pounds.
8,000 pounds. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Now, the other issue is the battery range, which again is affected by heat, which is a big problem in
Yeah.
airplanes. If there's a headwind, it's the same problems with electric vehicles. We talked about all these things that if you run the air conditioning, sorry, I just excitedly hit my desk. If you run the air conditioning, you're going to have battery life problems. And it's not always predictable necessarily. Jet fuel, you know exactly how much you need. So, but they think that electric planes could be used as air taxis, quote unquote, more
Okay.
so than like long haul flights.
Okay.
So we could use them as a way to a commuter line, basically, to
Okay.
reduce traffic from the big greenhouse gas emission villain in our story is individual cars, right? Individual
Yeah.
gas powered cars. So if we could use little flight taxis that are electric planes that could take you from, your suburb in New
Like
York to
Houston to, yeah,
oh,
or
it's
even like
shorter
inner
than that.
city.
Just literally just a commuter.
Oh,
It would replace your
interesting.
subway.
Okay.
Like in a place like Austin, it'd be great to just fly over I-35 and get downtown. Something like that.
Pretty
I mean,
awesome. Yeah.
so they'd be little tiny planes. Also, they could also use them.
Or these turds who are using it for private, or who
Yeah.
are have private jets. But anyway.
Yeah, as long as if they're just going from one small city to another small city, maybe, but not long
Yeah.
haul. We're talking really
Right.
short.
Yeah.
Um, or they could be used for like other things that gas powered flights are used for now, like pilot training. You could train pilots on those. Spraying crops, crop dusting, short distance cargo services, stuff like that. So those could be good replacements. Again, not necessarily great for passenger planes as we know them today. Airline travel.
But maybe in the future,
Yeah.
if we come up with a lighter
yeah.
battery.
So until, we're all waiting for that breakthrough battery advancement.
Yeah.
I mean, and the other issues with, of course, how fossil fuel intensive it is to mine lithium and the other substances you need to create these batteries, also recycling them. All of that still applies to electric airplanes. Also, something my sister pointed out, she said, it's interesting that the switch to electrification over fossil fuels is that energy generation makes up 25% of global emissions, right? It's just a trade. It only works if we can figure out how to really make clean energy.
Right.
So until our energy production grid is based on solar, wind, or other renewables, electrification is just kind of trading out one greenhouse gas emission for another.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So SAFs are probably the best solution that we're going to come up with. Excuse me. I've got a frog in my throat. And according to the DOE, the benefits of SAFs are that they already have engine and infrastructure compatibility. So SAF, it actually can be blended with conventional jet A fuel. So they can already use it in existing aircraft. It would.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So it works like ethanol.
Kind of. Yeah. But it could be a full jet A replacement too. Yeah.
Okay.
So it makes the most sense because we wouldn't have to like completely redo how airplanes are fueled now. It would just be a different fuel. They do have fewer emissions compared with conventional jet fuel, 100% SAF, so not mixed, but it has the potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 94%.
Okay.
Now that depends on where it comes from, right?
Right.
So
right.
the feedstock, like growing corn, etc., it just depends on, how you use what product you use to create the SAF, but that's a really huge impact on greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah, 94%.
Yeah. Also
awesome.
provides more flexibility. So SAF is a replacement for conventional jet fuel, allowing for multiple products from various feedstocks and production technologies. So you can use all kinds of SAFs from,
Okay.
it's not just dinosaur bones. Fossil fuels only come from one source. Well, coal and, oil, but jet fuel only comes from oil. So
yeah.
My sister said, and I'm just going to quote her on this, there's also a lot of investigation on non-CO2 emissions. Okay, so CO2 isn't the only emission that we have to be concerned about. There's a lot of concern about global warming caused by cloud formation from water contrails. So when a plane flies, it leaves a condensation trail. Not a trail, a con-trail. Just going to point that out. Some people are like, that's the government is...
Well,
that's a conspiracy
chemtrail.
theory. Yeah, and chemtrails. They're not chemtrails. They're condensation trails.
Okay, that scared me for a second. I was like, are people real? Or like serious about this?
Yeah, no, they're not. They're condensation. It's just water. But that can cause, it's adding clouds, which creates a greenhouse effect. So she said they're looking into things like flying different routes to avoid forming contrails because it can only happen where there's water in the air, right?
Okay.
What happens if you don't have soot for the water droplets to cling to? So that, let's get into the basics of how clouds form. It's dirt in the air. Water droplets are clinging to dirt. So contrails are literally condensation clinging to dirt. So if you don't, So if there's not that emission happening from the jet fuel being burned, there's nothing for the condensation to cling to, basically. And
Okay.
I'm sure my sister's going to listen to this and be like, no, no, no. But I'm just saying, how much impact do they actually have? That's the other question. No one has done the research on this. They have no idea. And if they are an issue, hydrogen won't be a good solution because hydrogen creates water. That's its emission.
Okay.
Instead of CO2, which is carbon dioxide, hydrogen creates dihydrogen oxide, which is water. So
Okay.
if that's a problem, then hydrogen's going to be like not an efficient solution to a jet fuel issue.
Right.
But nobody knows.
Okay.
Hydrogen also, the other problems with hydrogen are it takes up a lot of space, which, again, as we went through earlier, planes don't have a lot of space for that. And you have to keep it super cold, which is hard when you're doing a propulsion engine.
Oh, interesting.
Also, hydrogen is sneaky. She literally said sneaky in all caps. Hydrogen is sneaky and hard to contain.
Huh.
So,
What the hell does that mean? You mean
well,
it's like easy to spill or something?
yeah, you can have a lot of problems with hydrogen.
Okay.
So yeah, so SAFs are probably the best solution that the government's coming up with and what they're focusing on.
Okay.
So our next segment, we've been asking, like, is this something a normal person could do or afford? And like, well, that's not the question here.
I look like a lunatic right now. Sorry.
No, you're.
I like
okay.
had to get something out of my eye. If you're watching on YouTube, I came back up and I was like, my hair was all askew. Anyway.
I think people like that about us. They can,
Yeah, there you go.
So unless you're going to become a rocket scientist or a biologist to find sustainable fuel, okay, there's other things that we can do as individuals. And this is the article that the Common had was, ways that you can reduce your carbon impact with airline travel. Okay. Number 1, give up international travel. Like my roommate. I know.
It hurts me.
Probably not going to do that.
Brutal.
Anytime soon. But that, definitely is something to look into. Giving up flying altogether. Okay.
Yeah.
Barring that, don't take private jets.
Right.
Number 1. That's the number 1 thing
As
you
if
can
I
do.
had the option.
Right, I know. Like, well, there are some options out there. But always take a shared airplane. So this is similar to the thing with buses, right?
Yeah.
The more people you can get on a plane, the less carbon footprint per person per kilometer it becomes, right? Buses are sustainable as long as lots of people are taking buses.
Yeah.
Airplanes are more sustainable if more people are taking the airplane. So that means you want to take economy class. It has a lower footprint because there's more people fitting in economy class than in first class or the Comfort Plus, whatever. I know the lack of legroom sucks and is torturous, but if you have to make a choice, take economy.
Okay.
Similarly,
I
budget
do anyway, don't worry.
I know, it's the cheap. I mean, I'm not a millionaire. I take the cheapest option.
Yeah. I did just get a Delta credit card. I'm hoping to rack up some points.
Get it.
We'll
Use
see.
that lounge. Use that lounge, baby.
Yeah.
Budget airlines also cram more people onto them. So budget airlines are both nice on your wallet and on emissions. The top 3 airlines that are ranked the most efficient, and it's not by much, but they are more efficient. Frontier, Spirit, and Southwest are the top 3. I know. The school bus at the sky.
I fly Southwest quite a
I
bit.
fly Southwest too.
I refuse to do Frontier and Spirit just out of morality. Not morality, but just like
self-care. But
yes.
if you really want to make an impact on your, I mean, it wasn't much more efficient than others, but they are slightly more efficient. So if you're making conscious choices, those are the conscious choices. Another thing, fly direct as often as possible.
Oh.
So 25% of emissions are generated for airlines or airplanes through takeoff and landing.
Oh, okay.
So avoiding a layover can save 100 kilograms of carbon dioxide per flight. And that's like powering a fridge for a full year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, newer airplanes are more efficient. 15%, they use 15% less fuel than old ones. I know we have issues with certain Boeing planes falling out of the sky.
Like, no, thank you.
Take a new Airbus though. Try and find a new Airbus.
Yep,
And
yep,
it's
yep,
also kind of it's like I'm thinking about like okay, if I want to get from Austin to Albuquerque, I don't have that many options for like picking what plane I'm gonna take.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
that's like
Yeah.
whoever's flying there direct
Yeah.
at the time that I can go. Yeah,
Right.
but there's also you can only fly to certain airports if you have that luxury. There's something called an airport carbon accreditation stamp, and you can look that up for where you're flying because those airports are also working on being generating fewer greenhouse gases just at the airport itself. So that's a choice you can make as well. Also, pack lighter. Things you can do personally if you're going on a plane, pack less.
Yeah.
You know, the less a plane weighs, the more efficient it is.
Mm-hmm.
Order the
And that
vegetarian meal.
includes both your luggage that you're checking and
Yeah.
your carry-on. Because I think a lot of people don't think about checked bags, but
Yeah,
they're,
that
like,
it's just
on
it
the
just
plane with
disappears
you.
because we can't see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes up weight.
Yep.
And you know, they're gonna they take cargo on these flights too. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of things going on. But it, you know, if you have to feel better about your decisions for the day of the flight, packing lighter is one way to have somewhat of an impact.
Plus, it just makes your life easier.
Yeah. Take less
Having
with
to
you,
lug,
guys.
like a huge,
Yeah, it's the worst.
heavy. Ugh.
I always overpack. Yeah, and I've tried to get it down to like I don't need this many t-shirts or this much underwear. I know that. Like
Right.
no matter where I'm going, no matter how long I'm going, 3 pairs of shoes, 1 pair of pants, you know, 1 dress, 3 t-shirts. That's, you know.
Even 3 pairs of
you're-
shoes. I guess if you need different types of
Yeah,
shoes.
you got like your running shoes. You got your nice shoes for
Right.
night out or like
Yeah.
sandals, flip-flops
Mhm.
maybe, and then like
Tennis
a
shoes
pair of
or,
walking
like-
shoes. Yeah. Like nicer walking shoes.
I notoriously underpack.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who else has this problem, but I'm like, I get to a place, I'm like, I'm not going to need that. And then I get there, I'm like, fuck, I really need more than 2 shirts.
Yeah.
I wish I had more than one shirt.
I always forget, like, or I'm like, I'm not going to need, and it's some amenity that I'm like, and it's like, I definitely need my certain face wash or my, you know, I'm like, no, I'll just use what they have at the hotel. And then I'm miserable with whatever. they have at
Yes,
the hotel.
exactly.
So-
I went to Europe for over a week, and
Yeah.
I packed the time, like, not just a miniature, like the small size of toothpaste.
Oh my God.
It was about this big.
You're
I
out.
think-
Yeah,
I
you're
think
totally
I
out of
bought-
toothpaste.
Where did I get that? I think I got it on a plane, actually, because they sometimes, or at least they used to give you like a little care package. And
Yeah.
I think that was an international flight or something. I don't remember. But anyway, I got this like the tiniest toothpaste you could ever imagine. And I was like,
Oh
oh,
my
this
God.
might work. My friends were like, what?
No,
were
you're
you
just like brushing your
thinking?
teeth with water. Yeah.
Well, I ended up stealing their toothpaste. But they're like, I think you can handle having at least like a mini sized toothpaste, not a like dollop.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Anyway,
But yeah.
that's me.
Okay. Okay. So also they packing light. Yes. I mean, these are all kind of minuscule. Like order the vegetarian meal if you're,
Yeah.
that's, bring your own water bottle and utensils.
Yes, that's a big one.
Yeah. I definitely bring my own water bottle on every flight I take.
Oh, yeah.
And then use the digital or paperless boarding pass option.
Oh, okay.
Then the app you sent me, App in the Air, is a travel assistant that helps you find the most eco-friendly routes when you travel. So that's something you could explore as well, is using, I mean, I haven't tried it. Have you tried it? Have you looked into it?
No, I just found it. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
intriguing. I don't know
Yeah.
about it, but yeah.
I mean, I think trying to plan as few layovers. I mean, that's just there used to be a site called Hipmunk that would show you flight details for like you could be like I want to go from here to here and it would aggregate all the data from all the airlines and tell you which flights were going where and you could sort it showed up in a Gantt chart, which I love Gantt charts because they show you how much time things are and like over what period these, you know, so you could compare exactly how long a flight is and like all these. And one of the ways you could sort the flights, you know, they had price highest to lowest or lowest to highest. They had, you know, time, but they had something called agony, which is like how many times you have to change planes, how short the layover is. I
Wow.
was like, agony is definitely what I would call some of the flights I took when I was young, when I had to do
Oh
like
yeah.
Albuquerque to Denver, Denver to San
Ugh.
Francisco to Hong Kong, you know, like, because there's no direct flights from
No.
Albuquerque anywhere. So, but
Yeah.
agony, I think about that a lot. Like, most
So
of the
funny.
stuff you can do to reduce agony flying is also what you can do to reduce emissions on a personal level. So just
No,
think
it
of it that
makes
way.
perfect sense because there are so many flights. Like you can look at the same flight, even if there's a layover,
Yeah.
the same flight, like takeoff and destination, you might have like a 16-hour difference in
Yeah.
terms of how long it is. Like
Yeah.
I was trying to go to like Chicago or something, and somebody wanted like one flight wanted to send me all the way down through like Florida,
And
and
you're
I'm
like,
in
why? Yeah.
Maryland. It's like I'm not going to Florida.
No.
If
Why
I
would I
want to
do
go
that?
the opposite way than Florida, like I don't want to
Yeah.
go to Florida.
No.
It's
And that,
just
yeah.
crazy.
That happens a lot if you're flying from Albuquerque. Like if I wanted to go to Texas, I'd have to fly to Phoenix and then because of the airport hubs, you know.
Yeah, it
So,
sucks.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's basically all of that. Um, we usually do a granola rating, which
Mhm.
is our like how much green Huey's is. I don't feel like there's a way to rate this necessarily. Like there wasn't a single product. I don't know. What do you
Right.
like? I feel like what I learned was that air travel isn't as bad for the environment as I thought it was. Like I thought it was this
Yeah.
major polluter. It's like no, your daily commuter car is like the worst thing for the environment that we do in transportation is drive a car
Yeah.
as individuals. Like,
I wonder if that's because we use planes so much less often.
yeah, like you're not taking a plane every day unless you're
Yeah.
certain. I mean, most people are.
Wow.
Again, only 10% of the population takes planes at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's like the real takeaways I got were that like the work that the government is doing, I I know that commercial airlines are benefiting from it, and I don't know how much they're paying into it. But it's a thing
Mhm.
like my sister saw a sign by an airport that was like one of the airlines was like, "We're becoming more efficient," and she's like, "That's me. I'm doing that for them. They're taking credit for my
Wow.
work." You know, that's just what she does. Um,
Wow.
so it's one of those things where I'm kind of like proud of the U.S. government for like working on this for a
Mhm.
change.
And
It's
also
something,
kind of under the radar too.
yeah, like I had never heard of most of these initiatives.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I don't know if there's a granola. I mean, maybe my granola rating is like surprise. I'm
Mhm.
surprised. I'm just surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
airline travel is. I'm okay. Maybe it's a crunchy. Maybe it's a. This is giving me hope. Okay, I should explain what our granola rating is. It's
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
we we. Well, how about you explain it? 'Cause
Yeah. I'll explain it. I was like, I gotcha.
I'm muttering. Yeah.
We're in the mumbling phase. Of
Yeah.
the
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So if we look at like a product or a system that's rateable, then
Yeah.
we'll do rate it on a scale of soggy to break your tooth off in terms of granola. So
How
you
crunchy it
want
is. Yeah.
how crunchy it is, yeah, because you want your granola to be super crunchy. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like soggy, mushy, chewy. I can't remember the next one.
Crunchy and break your
Oh
tooth
yeah,
off.
crunchy and break your tooth off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, 'cause break your tooth off is best, soggy is worse. So I would give this a crunchy. Like it was a surprise to me.
okay.
How much work is going into this and how much hope kind of there is for
Yeah.
airline travel being, you know, they're working on it. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
interested in that. Yeah.
That
So,
is really, really exciting.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's sort of like the U.S. government says they're working on clean diesel, and that turned out to be a load of hooey. So I'm so glad to hear that this isn't.
Yeah, this is not clean diesel. This is something completely different. So,
Yay!
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So sorry. I'm
yeah,
like,
what are we talking about next week?
Yeah.
I should know this. I think I do know if you don't.
Sustainable luggage.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's you, and you're gonna. I'm interested in that
Yeah.
because that's a consumer product we can actually talk about.
It is, and I'm gonna look at like, I think I have one in mind for
Okay.
a brand that I'm gonna look
perfect.
at.
We haven't done that in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're one of the bigger ones, and I found them a while ago, and the founder is a really interesting case. So it's just like, it's just a very interesting brand. So yeah, we'll kind of go back to our roots and look at their marketing and whatnot. So
perfect. I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be fun. All right.
Yeah. I want to say thank you to my sister for all the info. I'm sorry. I'm sure I did you a lot of injustices, but this was a very high level look at your PhD level work that you've been doing for 20 years. So yeah,
we can't match that.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow us on Instagram if you haven't already.
Greening up my act. You can see pictures of my puppy there sometimes too. So,
Yay!
yeah. Thanks for listening.